Okay, so today we're going to be talking about collecting and processing alternative income forms collected from your families. My name is Andee Bose, excuse me, with School Food Solutions, and I'll be guiding you through this training today. The goals of today's session, we want to talk real briefly about why household income forms are collected as a CEP school. So we'll touch on what does CEP mean, what are these forms, why do we need them? And then we're going to talk about the division of responsibilities when it comes to these forms between the school food authority, your school, and School Food Solutions. And then we'll review the School Food Solutions income form template and talk about some best practices around handling that. We'll also touch briefly on exports from CalPads and other ways to get the data that you need to make sure that you're doing everything you can to find eligible students at your school. So to start with, what is CEP? What does it mean for you, right? So CEP stands for Community Eligibility Provision. So it's a provision of the National School Lunch Program that's available to schools with at least 40% of their students being directly certified for free lunch benefits. So what that means is that 40% or more of the students in your school are participating in programs like SNAP or TANF or other programs that directly certify them to receive free lunch benefits. And because of that population and that percentage, you're eligible to do this provision, which reduces the administrative burden and paperwork requirements for like your normal meal eligibility and meal counting procedures. So in a traditional school, or in a state that, for example, doesn't have universal meals for all, this would mean you don't have to collect lunch applications and everybody at the school eats for free. Now, in the state of California, everybody eats for free anyways, but this does mean that you guys don't need to collect the same kind of paperwork that you would if you were running the traditional free and reduced lunch program to get your meals reimbursed. So the claiming process on the back end to get your money for the meals you serve is a simpler process because you are a CEP school. And the state of California strongly encourages any schools who qualified to participate in CEP so that they can maximize the federal monies that they're getting for the meals that you're serving. So what is a household income form and why do we need to do it? Basically, there are sources of funding available in your state that are based on students' eligibility for free and reduced lunch, even though everybody is eating free lunch. Based on the number of students who are eligible for free lunch, your school is able to get certain types of funding. And so in order to gather that household income information that you would have traditionally gotten from a normal lunch application, the state accepts household income forms as an alternative source of that information. So your responsibilities as a school is to use the form that we're going to provide to distribute and collect that from your families as much as possible. As they come into you, to check those forms for completion, that they have accurate and complete information so that they can be processed. And then to scan those as they come in, so on a daily basis as you get them, and send them to forms@schoolfoodsolutions.org. You should also work with your school team to have a process for following up with families who haven't submitted their form. Again, to maximize your school's funding, you want to get as many of these turned in as possible. And then upon request, if a family asks for a letter showing that they're eligible for free or reduced lunch, you can provide that to them using a template that we will give you. So what School Food Solutions is going to do for you is create the household income form template for your school. And then that packet is also going to come with a cover letter that you can use to encourage people to fill out the form, and that template of a benefits letter of you are eligible for free and reduced lunch that you can give to folks if they ask for it. We are responsible for training any staff, so thank you for coming to this training to get this information. We will review all the received household income forms, make sure that they are complete, send back any that we can't process with instructions on how to get them fixed. And then we are responsible for processing the complete forms within 10 operating days of receipt. So we actually do this in your point of sale system so that we have a source of truth for each student's individual eligibility. And so that you can keep track, so that we can help you keep track of who you haven't gotten a form from or who hasn't been directly certified by some other method. So we'll do that. And then we'll also send you that updated list of student statuses on a weekly basis once we start getting these forms in. That'll help you to identify who you might need to follow up with. All right. Now we'll talk about the form itself. What we've put together is using the sample forms on the California Department of Education website. We've put together the simplest version of household income data collection that has the amount of information that we need to process it in your point of sale, but requires the least amount of information from your families. And so this is what the form looks like. It basically has 3 parts. Part 1 is letting us know the students who attend your school or your school network. So this will say the name of your school, the current school year. And basically we want them to list any students who are attending your school. That helps us find them in your point of sale system. So that's part 1. If they have other children who don't attend your schools, they do not need to be on here. They can list them if they want, but they don't need to. And they don't need to list every single household member, the adults as well, just the children who attend your school. Part 2 is where they put the income information. So this part 2 has 2 steps. It has step 1, circling the total number of adults and children who live in the household. So this is where they can say the size of the household. And again, a household is defined as people who are sharing a living space and sharing expenses. So any number of folks who live in the same apartment or home and share expenses for that living space, then they are considered a household. So they can circle that total number. If it's more than 10, they can write it in on the other line. And then the second bit of info that we need is their total annual household income. And this is gross income. So the amount of income prior to taxes or other deductions being taken out. So they can total all the adults who live in the house, the income earned by all of them together, and put it on this one line. No need to break it out by each individual, like the lunch application. Once they do those 2 things, we need a signature from the adult household member who's filling out the form, their name and the date. The second line here is optional information, contact information, their address, their phone number or email. But if they leave that blank, it's still a form we can process, but it does need that signature and the date that they fill out the form written there. All right, so that's it. It's a pretty straightforward, simple form. What you want to make sure that you're checking for is that it has all of these pieces done. So it has children along with enough information for us to find them in your point of sale. It has a total number of household members, and it has an annual income. And so you might need to check that annual income. Sometimes people come back with a weekly income or a monthly income. So if it looks like it might not be an annual income, that might be something you want to follow up with the family on. And then the signature and the current date is the last of the required things on the form. And like I said, this will be customized for your school, so we'll have it updated with your school's information. We're going to give you this quick check 1-pager reference that goes through what I just told you about. So what you need to check for, what's required. So you can print this out and have it as a handy place wherever you're collecting the forms. As far as corrections go, you can correct most errors if you reach out to the family and get the accurate information. So the only thing you can't really do on behalf of the family is the signature. So they need to sign it. But if they forgot to circle the number of household members, or they wrote in a salary that didn't seem annual and you call them and get the correct information, you can just draw a single line through the incorrect information, write in what they said, and then you just want to initial and date next to anything that you have corrected on behalf of the family. It's important that you have a plan for storing these forms at your school. Again, you're going to be scanning them to us as they come in on a daily basis. But after they're scanned, we suggest that you get storage containers like these, where you can keep them in alphabetical order by student last name, and they're all in one place and can be secured. You will need to keep the original forms on file for 3 years in case of an audit. So it's important that they are all in one place and they're easy to find if we need them. Some schools choose to use binders, which is great also, but we suggest using page protectors in those binders instead of hole punching the forms, just to make sure that they're less likely to fall out of the binder. And then if you want to make a copy of the form to put in a student cumulative folder, that's fine, but make sure that all the original forms stay together and don't get divided up into the student folders. Only copies. The other thing that comes into play with eligibility are direct certification. So again, if students at your school or members of their household are participating in programs that would qualify them for free lunch directly, so food stamps or SNAP or TANF, temporary assistance for needy families, those students should be identified in the CalPads system. And there's an extract that you can download from CalPads that'll list your students and whether or not they are directly certified for getting free or reduced lunch benefits. There's also a homeless list and a foster list available in CalPads. So we will work with your CalPads person to get those exports on a regular basis. They do become available monthly. And the first one is available now in July, the first set of these. So we will be reaching out to the CalPads person for your organization to make sure that we get these on a regular basis, so that that just means you won't need to get forms from those students because they're directly certified. So it kind of reduces the paperwork burden even further, the more often that we can get these extracts out of CalPads. And this is an example when we say all status codes in CalPads, this is what we mean. So whether they're certified for getting Medi-Cal benefits as free or reduced, or SNAP or TANF or whatever the situation might be, we want you to select all so that we have all the different ways they can be certified. These are a few suggestions on how to increase completion. Since folks are eating for free, there's not the natural incentive to fill out the form that there might have been if it were a traditional application. So we've included a letter template that you can use or customize, explaining why this is helpful to getting funding for your school and how that can benefit the students of your school. And then the rest of the suggestions are a lot around availability. Included in your registration packets, have it at your back to school events, have it at the front office so it's always available, post it on your website, distribute it in emails and newsletters. So just making it really, really available and explaining in those places why this is important for folks to fill out, how it can help your school and how it can help them. And then also having potentially having incentives like classroom competitions is one option to help get the students involved in getting the form completed. And then of course, following up individually by calling families and asking them to complete the form is also on the table once you get the first batches of them in. Some important dates: we're going to send you your forms soon. You can distribute them immediately. So traditional free and reduced lunch applications can't be distributed before July 1st. but income forms can actually be distributed the spring before the following school year. So we're already kind of into the July months now, but for future reference, you can, this is something that you could gather for folks in the spring as they're registering for next school year. And then, as I mentioned, direct certification lists become available in mid-July. They should be available now or soon. So we'll be reaching out for those as well. And then, of course, your contacts here at School Food Solutions. I'm the eligibility manager. I am in charge of the team at forms@schoolfoodsolutions.org. So again, that's where you're going to scan the income forms that you receive to, but that's also basically your help desk. So if you have any questions about the form, you need any help with this at all, you can ask that question there as well, and we'll respond to you as soon as possible. We also have a helpline that you can share with your parents if they need help filling out the form itself. So that's the phone number there. And then, of course, your client manager is Ryan. He's available at ryan@schoolfoodsolutions.org if you ever need any general support with your food service program.